It's time, Buccaneer fans, for an extra slice. I am Mike Nabors, along with Roy Cummings. We'd like to thank our title sponsors, House of Brews and Sea Dog Brewing Company. Great brews, great food, great service. Well, we're here inside of Raymond James Stadium after a Monday night football game, the Bucs' first loss of the year. But Ray J might be called the land of missed opportunities because the Bucs had some.
Yeah, they really did. First of all, a big opportunity to go up, be alone in first place in the division if they were 3-0. They miss out on that opportunity, have a chance to really kind of, they get back in the game after a tough first half, and they got an opportunity to maybe put this thing away. The defense really can't get off the field at the end, and when the defense did give the offense a chance, they were a quick 3-and-out there. So didn't go quite the way they hoped it would at the end, but you know what? Still, at the end of this 3-game stretch without Jameis Winston, you got to feel pretty good if you're a Buccaneers fan about this team being 2-1 the way they're playing right now.
Yeah, I mean, all the doom and gloom of the first 3 games, they take 2-1 in a heartbeat back in mid-August, that's for sure. Let's talk about Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think after his first 2 games, the bar was set probably way too high, but if you look at his final numbers, they're kind of on par with his first couple games, save the interceptions.
Yeah, 400 yards passing again. 3 interceptions, yes, but also 3 touchdowns,
yes.
So just short of the 4 touchdowns again. So, look, Ryan Fitzpatrick gave this team a chance to win tonight. Mm-hmm. Yes, he was responsible in part for the 30-10 deficit at halftime, which is tough. He'll take a lot of this on his shoulders, but at the end of the day, I think there's too much on his shoulders right now. I think this team needs to start playing better around him. Tonight, the pass protection wasn't as good. Receivers weren't as aggressive in getting into their routes and giving him opportunities to make plays. The running game was kind of absent again. Now they had to abandon it because they were behind. But again, the defense, in my opinion, still not strong enough. Not enough takeaways, number one, and not getting off the field at key moments when they really need to, like at the end, inside of 2 minutes. They could have given them another chance to get down the field and score, but they didn't do it.
Let's talk about that. This team showed a lot of faith in the defense, but boy, a stop at the end there, and anything could really happen. And the way Fitzpatrick was playing, especially in the second half, it was a whole different quarterback compared to what we saw in the first half. Let's go back to some of those missed opportunities. You know, Chris Godwin, who we saw day in and day out in training camp, that guy doesn't drop anything, had a crucial drop in the first half. In a game like this, it's tough to have plays like that.
He had a couple of drops in the first half. He had a drop early on, out about midfield, had a drop in the end zone, which is unlike him, and then he catches the ball and fumbles it away. So a tough night for him for sure. But then he came back and made a big catch in the second half as part of the comeback. So that's more of the Chris Godwin we're used to seeing. He's a tough kid. He'll bounce back. But it just goes to show you that the Buccaneers are still in this game at the end, even though they had so many mistakes. That passing game of theirs is really second to none right now in the NFL. And again, this is with a quote-unquote backup quarterback. So I think there's still a lot to feel good about with this football team, but there's also some areas that they really need to shore up.
You talk about the backup quarterback. Well, that backup quarterback is now a starter in Ryan Fitzpatrick, but Jameis Winston will be back in the building on Tuesday. His suspension is over, and you were in there for Dirk Koetter's press conference. What's your read on how this football team will move forward at the quarterback position as that next game against the Bears is going to happen really quickly with this quick turnaround?
Well, I think they're really happy to get Jameis back. I mean, let's face it, he is the best quarterback on this football team. He's number one. He's top on the depth chart for a reason. They're happy to have him back, get this other issue behind him. That's good for this team overall. But right now, I think at this point, Jameis Winston, he's going to have to earn his way back into the starting lineup for sure, and maybe into the lineup period. Ryan Fitzpatrick, despite a tough run of it here in the first half tonight, again, came back, gave this team a chance to win tonight. He's going to be the starter in Chicago. Dirk Koetter just wants to give Jameis a chance to hear that from his lips first, not instead of telling the rest of the world first. So that'll probably happen Tuesday or Wednesday, but Jameis is going to hear that information, and then he's going to realize, and Dirk Koetter, I think he said it really well. He said that Jameis is going to take on, he's going to accept whatever role he's got with this football team, much the way Ryan Fitzpatrick does, and I think that's good at this point. Jameis Winston, I think, realizes he made a big mistake. He's hurt himself, he's hurt his team, and he's still going to pay the price well into the time that he comes back, after he comes back from the suspension. It's up to the Bucs to rally around him and create an opportunity for him to succeed when he gets back. So we'll see what happens.
Do you think, though, Roy, because Ryan Fitzpatrick made more mistakes in this game and showed signs of being the Ryan Fitzpatrick that we've seen in the past, not the first 2 games, that Jameis Winston might see action maybe sooner than we expected?
I'll tell you what, Had the whole game gone the way it did the first half with Ryan Fitzpatrick, I would have said yes. All of a sudden, Tampa Bay, we have a quarterback controversy, but not now. Ryan Fitzpatrick came back, gave this team a chance to win tonight, and without Ryan Fitzpatrick, this is probably a 45-3 blowout for the Steelers. Ryan Fitzpatrick gave this team a chance, and for that reason, he's going to start in Chicago. And if he struggles a little bit in Chicago, then you might start to hear some whispers. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Ryan Fitzpatrick bounce back and have a real good game. Again, part of the problems he had tonight were, again, he had no running game.
No.
He had very little protection. The protection wasn't as good.
Right.
And again, those receivers were not as quick and as aggressive getting into their routes. He needs a little bit more help from the people around him. He didn't get as much help in the first half tonight, got more in the second half, and you see the results. So Ryan Fitzpatrick's still the quarterback, and for good reason.
And finally, before we put a bow on the Monday night football game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, let's talk about the halftime ceremony. Tony Dungy in the Ring of Honor. You covered Tony Dungy for years, and I think what really stood out was the amount of support that he had around him when he was inducted at halftime.
You know, the only thing I can say about that is covering him, and I can't say this about too many people that I've covered, but it was an honor covering Tony Dungy. It was an honor to hear from him every day, see how he carried himself as a person on and off the field. I became a better man for covering Tony Dungy and for getting to know him. I'm proud to say and honored to say that I'm a friend of his, and I think that's why you had 5 busloads of former Buccaneers players. This is interesting. Usually when they have one of these Ring of Honor things, they get 1 or 2 busloads of former players, teammates come in. Tonight, 5 busloads of former Buccaneers players coming in to honor Tony Dungy. And I'm not surprised because he's a father figure to a lot of these guys and one of the greatest people that has ever graced this game. And we're proud. We should be proud to have him here in Tampa Bay.
No doubt about it. Well, Meatloaf had a song, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I think that applies to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 3 games in the books. They have 2 victories. And any Buccaneer fan, I think, would have taken that in June, July, or August. This is An Extra Slice. He is Roy Cummings. I'm Mike Nabors. Please subscribe to pewterpirates.com. We'll see you down the road.
Where else would you get a Meatloaf reference?
Exactly.